A lot has changed in the months since President Donald Trump assumed power. But one thing that really hasn't changed in this country is the number of mass shootings. That's right, which currently in 2025 stands at 268. That number will, of course, continue to increase. I don't know how high it's going to get, but you can count on that number continuing to climb higher and higher and higher. It's almost like we have an epidemic here of gun violence. Yeah. Now, the latest horrific act of that violence led to, unfortunately, in many cases like this, the deaths of innocent people, specifically innocent children. Now, this is also being used as a victory lap by the far right. What do you mean? Children died. Who's using this as a victory lap? Well, it's because this one happened to have been perpetrated by a transgender woman going by the name of Robin Westman. So, formerly Robert. Okay, so I'm sorry to dead name on that one, but that's who this person is. And by the way, there is some evidence that this person may have detransitioned or had been in the process of detransitioning as well. So that's also why I bring that name up. Anyway, before I get into the details, I'm going to give you some facts. Okay. Number one, transgender shooters are extremely rare. Okay. The Gun Violence Archive actually estimated that about 0.11% of all known suspects in mass shootings over the past decade were transgender. A 2023 report by the U.S. Secret Service, also, which had analyzed 180 mass attacks between 2016 and 2020, found that only 3 of the attackers, or about 2% of them, were transgender individuals. The Violence Project, which maintains a mass shooter database, found that less than 1% of mass shootings overall have been committed by transgender individuals. So the reality of the situation here is that the vast amount of mass shootings are actually perpetrated by cisgender white males. Why do I have to point this out? It should be very, very obvious, right? Well, it's because the right wing wants people to believe that there is an epidemic of transgender mass shootings. Now, there is an epidemic of mass shootings in this country, yes. However, the numbers do not lie. MAGA does. Yeah. You see, right-wing influencers were very, very quick to assert that Westman's motive to kill Catholic kids was a result of transgender ideology. Now, look, as somebody who personally knows and is friends with a lot of transgender and non-binary folks, that notion is extremely absurd. Again, if you actually know who these people are, have conversations with them, treat them as if they're human beings, you would know that, yes, the vast majority of them are not bad or violent people, okay? And they're not after your kids either. That said, here's some examples of the right wing blaming this on transgender people and ideology. For example, Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh, one of the most notorious transphobes and someone who finds 15-year-old girls attractive. I'm just saying, he did talk about how, they were very fertile. Okay? Very fertile. Said, quote, that this was a result of growing anger within the transgender community that their agenda is losing. They're losing on every playing field, in every area of American life. We've defeated them politically. We've defeated them culturally. But understand this, now is precisely the moment when trans militants are the most dangerous. They've lost. The game is over. But now they're more desperate than ever, more full of hatred and anger than ever. They're going down, but they'll take as many sane, normal people with them as they can. It's going to get worse from here. Be on your guard. I mean, that right there, if that is not a clarion call to do violence against the trans community, I don't know what is. Okay. That is not just a dog whistle. Okay. That is a very open human whistle. Everyone can hear it. That is telling you, get your guns and hunt down trans people. Okay. Before they come and get you. I mean, Matt Walsh is one of the worst people imaginable, but not only that, Chaya Rychik, the founder of Libs of TikTok. I mean, Leah, just you got all these people. Riley Gaines, okay, whose biggest complaint, by the way, against transgender people is that she lost to one. She actually tied to one with for fifth place, okay, and was forever turned into a bitter, hateful person because of it. Okay, that's who these people are. Okay, just terrible people, and there is so much projection. Speaking of that, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she said today's evil church school shooter was a trans who was likely groomed and transitioned as a teenager. They were 17 when they simply asked the judge, "Hey, change my name on my birth certificate." Okay, I now go by Robin. Okay, 17. And not only that, but may also be a detransitioner because there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of, obviously, a lot of anti-trans hatred going on today. So, that's part of that. Now, she added, Congress must pass my bill Protecting Children's Innocence Act to make it a felony to perform sex change surgeries and all forms of medications on minors. All forms of medication, as in like any medication, like Tylenol for kids. I can't have that either. Like, where does that end? Okay. We got to end all surgeries. Really? So what? You can't have any surgery if you're a kid? Already there are no sex change surgeries for children. So I don't know what the hell she's talking about. Again, it is just purely a way to erase transgender people from the reality, from society. That's what they want to get rid of. They want to get them out of society. Laura Loomer had shared some screenshots of videos posted by Westman that showed her rifle, or their rifle, painted with phrases and names. One of them was "Kill Trump." Okay, well, there you go. That's the justification, by the way, that they're saying, see, this person's a liberal. No, this person has no defined political ideology, okay? And also, there's a lot of anti-Semitism as well. For example, one says, Israel must fall, okay? But of course, this Laura Loomer said, a T-slur and an Islamic sympathizer, because one of those, phrases, I guess, praised Atta, the surname of the ringleader of September 11th. Now, this person had a very big, like a lot of mass shooters, has a lot of veneration towards previous mass shooters, as well as, people who had done terroristic acts. And there's a lot of overlap there, right? So now, Loomer says, we have only been warning about the Red-Green Alliance. I don't even know what that is. For how long? Valentina Gomez went further and basically called for transgender Americans, all transgender Americans, to be classified as a terrorist organization. None of that makes any sense. None of that. Kash Patel claimed that this was a hate crime against Catholics. Do you have any evidence? Do they have any evidence that the victims were targeted because of their religion? No. Odds are, like many mass shootings, they had targeted a familiar place. Facebook posts from Annunciation show that Westman's mother, Mary Grace Westman, actually had worked at that church for about 5 years. So, yeah, very, very familiar. Okay. Now, their alleged YouTube videos included a recording of a manifesto interspersed with like Russian words, and I don't know what that had to do with anything. But again, as I had mentioned, they had praised previous mass shooters like Nicholas Cruz, who was a right-wing incel. In a voiceover of one of the videos, they claimed to have met and supported Brandon Herrera, a pro-gun YouTuber who ran as a Republican and lost in a Texas primary for a congressional seat last year. So, I mean, look, obviously had supported a Republican, right? And so in order to support a Republican, you probably have to register as a Republican. But Minnesota, of course, does not keep that record, okay? So of what you register as. Now, look, like a lot of mass shooters, this person has beliefs that are all over the place and often contradictory and nonsensical. It really is a good indication that their mind was just not there, okay? That there was something massively wrong with this person, a lot of self-hatred, okay? In the manifesto they had wrote, in regards to my motivation, I can't really put my finger on a specific purpose. So what, you just felt like doing murder? Weird. Now, in fact, they said, I don't want it to do it to spread a message. I do it to please myself. I do it because I am sick. And look, they also reference some racism and white supremacy, saying it wouldn't be for racism or white supremacy, even though they had shown some, affinity for those belief systems. Okay. Now, obviously, someone who has serious issues, I don't think being trans or detrans or whatever is the reason why I think that they did this. But again, you can see why the right wing really wants to focus on that, because they have a narrative. In fact, one of the comments under Patel's post said, quote, institutionalize all trans people immediately. So we're talking about the forcible arrest and institutionalization of lots and lots of people, transgender Americans. The vast majority who are just trying to live their lives. That is absolutely disgusting. And again, a good indication that, these people, I mean, the kind of crowd that Patel has created is, I mean, it shows you exactly the kind of people they are. Okay. Another said, there's no way they should be able to pass an FBI background check for a gun. Well, hey, so much for defending the Second Amendment, guys. They really don't believe in their own ideology. They really don't. Anything that hurts people that they don't like. Now, other comments read, it's time to secure the homeland from transgender monsters. Oh. Okay. Now, Andy No, right-winger, also says there's an epidemic of mass killers who are transgender. Identifying in the U.S. as transgender ideology has become encouraged, mainstreamed, and institutionally supported. This is a new phenomenon I report on, and I'm smeared and threatened for doing so. No, you're not. You're not even smeared. You're lying about people. You're going around lying about people. 0.11% of all the known suspects in mass shootings over the past decade identified as transgender. Oh, there's an epidemic, all right. That epidemic is mentally ill white cis men with easy access to weaponry. Okay, with easier access to guns thanks to Republicans than they can, access healthcare. Okay, It's easier to get a weapon, a high-powered weapon, and go and murder people than it is to be able to go and get therapy. Look, this violence has absolutely nothing to do with their identity. To tie it to that is pretty sickening. And by the way, this is just the latest, okay? The latest excuse that the right wing is using, the latest scapegoat, okay? Remember, it used to be, oh, video games. It was all video games. Video games cause violence. Video games cause violence. And now, of course, you have a bunch of young right-wingers who love video games, play video games all the time. In fact, there's now an entire cottage industry of right-wingers complaining that video games are too woke. So they went from, oh, video games too violent to video games too woke. Look, it never was the video games, okay? And so, and look, they jumped from that to gender ideology pretty quickly because they know that it works. It's almost like they just want an excuse to ignore easy access to weaponry, as well as the gutting of mental health care. And they get, again, a very easy scapegoat in transgender individuals who are already vilified in our society now. I mean, look, in Westman's posts, they talked a lot about how they hate themselves, okay? And, you know, wanted to detransition, basically. And so if you cannot see why there was so much self-hatred there, well, I think it's because you really don't want to see it, because you're pretty much wedded to a particular narrative. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.